It needs a little kick.
Hello and welcome to Whatever the Weather, another Arsenal podcast. Listener, you join us on Tuesday, the 24th of September, following Arsenal's frustrating 2-2 draw with Manchester City at the Etihad. I'm joined by James,
Hello.
by Keith,
Hello.
and by the elusive Tom Draper.
Hello, I'm not Dan.
I mean, you need to be Dan tonight, though.
Okay, I'll try.
All
Sorry,
right.
Dan, in advance.
Okay, so let's get right into it. So, one of us was at the game, and that man was James.
Yeah, it was emotional. It was emotional. You know what? Look, it's 2 days afterwards, and still not 100% sure how I feel about it. I think my probably overriding feeling is of pride. I think there was a lot of positives that can be taken from the performance, but also immense frustration at the inequality of refereeing.
Oh, so we're back onto refereeing.
Well, yeah, well,
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
it's.
I mean,
I think, yeah, the refereeing was appalling. Let's call it as it is. We find ourselves 1-0 down after 9 minutes. I mean, we didn't start well, let's be honest. And deservedly found ourselves 1-0 down. And I think the way Man City were playing and coming after us at that point, I think the PTSD that Dan has often mentioned was starting to really kick in. But you know what? We really recovered well and fought well ourselves back into the game, and that's the mark of this team. I said before, I think on the previous podcast, my abiding thoughts of the victory at Spurs, and even actually after the performance against Atalanta, is that we are such a well coached and well drilled team, and I think you could really see that we've got a real good structure about us. And we were never going to fold. We were never going to fold in this game, and to find ourselves back in the game after that absolute wonder strike from Calafiori.
oh my God.
And it probably did need something like that, to be honest, something a bit out of the blue. And then obviously a set piece, and there's no fluke in that set piece. You know, we had an identikit version about 5 minutes before that Gabriel probably should have scored and headed over the bar, and then to make it 2-1, and then we're all up and thinking that we're set for what is a classic second half, and then the referee makes it all about him.
I can't agree. I can't agree more. Oliver wanted to send off. He couldn't. He wanted to send Trossard off there. There's no doubt about it. Like I said, if we play second half 11 men, all this talk about us being super defensive and just trying to go for a draw, not to win the game, we would have won that second half. I do believe that. I just think the referee made it about himself. He was so quick to get that yellow card out. It was ridiculous. He didn't think, okay, all the entire football world is watching this game right now. Didn't think about that. He didn't think about the practical side of it, the fairness side of it. He literally blew the whistle. I mean, Trossard kicked the ball like half a second after he blew the whistle. Just have a bit of common sense. Not ruin the game for one team in particular.
Yeah.
And just think, he must have known that he didn't give Doku a yellow card. Didn't he think, okay, well, this is going really, really bad for me, and a lot of people are going to be really angry at me, and people are going to say, well, I refereed last year in Dubai during the international break, and for City's owners, this one looked dodgy at all, but no, he doesn't do any of that, and he just gives it another yellow card. Game ruined. We have to defend for our lives, and eventually, City being City and being lucky bastards they are, they get a point. And I think second half we defended like lions. I was so proud of the team. Like James said, it's like mixed emotions. You're disappointed that he didn't win the game because with 10 seconds left. Well, actually, not 10 seconds left. It was over the 7 minutes. The referee just decided to give City another 20 seconds to score. But so it's a mixture of bitterness and anger, pride,
Graham,
hope
I
for the
have to
rest of the
come in there.
season.
You laugh, but Keith is right.
No, but the
The
reason I
added
laugh.
time was very questionable.
Oh no, definitely.
Very
No, but that is the
questionable.
reason I
There
laugh.
was a
It's because
feeling
it's
there.
so absurd
There
that
was a
like
feeling there
yeah,
that
yeah,
it's we're going to play until you score.
yeah, yeah. And I've heard that
Oliver
from
did it first off by allowing City play on for
Well,
7 minutes.
Trossard was sent. There was 6 minutes. The board went up,
Mm,
and I think Trossard was sent off on. Was it the 8th minute?
8th.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So
yeah.
the referee knew what he was doing. He wanted City to get back into
Mm.
the game. He wanted to give something. He thought, well, if I play another few minutes, City will get equaliser, and then they would win the second half. And
Mm.
the second half, he was like, "Can't let Arsenal win this. Can't let Arsenal win this. No, no, no. Give City another minute, another 20 seconds, another 30 seconds." It paid off for City in the end.
Yeah.
So pride and anger, bitterness, the
Mm.
usual, the usual
The usual
feelings I have after
group
a
of
contentious away
mm,
victory.
mm.
No.
Look, we've been through the mill with this before, and whilst I do sort of appreciate Keith's opinion on this, and I do in some ways lean towards it, I think we do have to ask if we're constantly asking about it, if the referee is just basically the 12th man, which I don't know. I'm not convinced about. I'm not.
Well, that's a whole nother podcast and debate about referees and any potential bias. If we're going to stick to Sunday,
mm,
he definitely showed some very questionable decisions and definitely lent towards the home team.
mm.
Now you could say
Uh,
that if he would have done it, if there would have been us away to Liverpool or Tottenham or West Ham, possibly, or it was just a City only thing. But I think Arsenal and our fans are justified to feel a bit annoyed.
Mm.
Tom?
I'd like to play a devil's advocate here, even though I'm furious about the way it played out, and say that Arsenal did make a double substitution in the 92nd minute, which probably ate at least 30 seconds off the clock, which you then would feel compelled to add on later on. And yeah, I think the Trossard thing was annoying, but I'm more annoyed with Trossard than I am with the referee because I'm sure the club was briefed at the beginning of the season about the new law in place, which is that referees are empowered to caution a player if they're guilty of delaying the restart of play or failing to respect required distance when players restarted. Like, it reminds me a little bit of going in the way back machine here, Robin van Persie at the Nou Camp, where all the Arsenal fans like up
Come
in
on,
arms about it,
like,
but at the same time, like there are rules in the game, and if a player's emotions get the
Yeah,
better
well,
of
you
him,
want
he just decides
those
to
rules
whack
to
it away.
be. I agree with you, but you want those rules to be applied
Yep.
equally. And Doku did it in 8.5.
yeah.
I don't think they're the same thing though, because Doku knocked it back towards where the referee was asking him to take the kick from. Like you could try and make the argument that Trossard was trying to knock the ball out wide to Martinelli, but it looked more to me like the kick of a guy who, like, either he thinks that the halftime whistle has just gone, which it hadn't, or he was just like, fuck this, and just levered it.
Well, I can see your point, but again, like I said, he didn't do it with Doku. He should have just thought, you know what?
Mm.
Let's just be sensible. Let's keep the game. Make a common sense decision. I mean,
I think
can
that Keith
see
is saying. I think what Keith
technical.
is saying is it's the
Yeah,
inconsistency in
yeah.
the refereeing decisions, and I think that should be a concern. And again, as Tom says, like the players should be made aware of these changes, but
They're aware. Declan Rice got sent off for it like a week or two ago.
yeah,
It's it's very fresh in the memory. It's like putting your hand in a bucket of boiling water twice and expecting to have a different outcome the second time. Mikel Arteta needs to be putting Trossard on the naughty step, saying, "You do this again, you're on the fucking bench, boy." I'm sorry. I know it's
I
no.
can't agree with this. I can't agree with this because the one simple fact is, why doesn't it happen to anybody else?
Mm.
And you
It's
can't
true.
tell me that I mean, look, nobody here, I'm sure, watches every minute of Premier League football in a season across every single team, right? But I am absolutely positive that this happens all of the time. Keith referenced the Doku thing there. I don't think that you can be we're in a position to know what's going through anyone's mind. Whether, to me, you can argue, okay, yeah, Doku was kicking it back where the free kick should have been taken.
Hmm.
He's kicking the ball. I don't know. It's difficult to make that judgment in that moment. It's difficult to know, like you said, what Trossard was doing. I do think, from being in the ground, I'll be honest, I thought the second yellow was for the foul, the as in the barge in the back. And when the VAR came up, it said it was for a push on the stadium in the ground.
Hmm.
That came out. And it was only when it got into the concourse at half time it was that he's got sent off for kicking the ball away. Which, again, if that law is applied evenly across the league, and there are other players that are sent off for kicking the ball away, no problem. But
Would anyone have been
you
upset
reference,
if he hadn't had a yellow card first? Would anyone be annoyed that he got a yellow card for it?
I would have been.
Yeah, I would have been.
I would
Yeah, it
have
would have
been.
been.
Yeah.
I think if again, I mean, like you mentioned the Van Persie one, I haven't seen in a game of that stature. So it was a Champions League quarter final. Okay, yeah, you can probably reference there might be a lower mid-table team, I don't know, Blackburn or Wigan or
Hmm.
someone like that who've had a ludicrous red card. But where has that been for Manchester United, Manchester City, Chelsea, Liverpool,
Hmm.
Tottenham, dare I say? You just don't see the same sort of cards given out. Graham, you mentioned a couple of weeks ago, Martinelli booked sent off for a double action by Michael Oliver, may I add. Two yellow cards in the same action. When has that ever happened since? You can't tell me that was a one-off thing, and it just the lightning had to strike to Arsenal. It just seems strange to me that why is it happening to us? Because I don't believe we're the only team doing it. As I said, if that is, we're still fairly early in the season. If Tom, like you say, there is this new directive, and that is applied, and we see this happen throughout the season, then I don't think there'll be much hand wringing. I think it will be a case of, well, okay, well, there we go. That's a new standard, and we should have learned from it. But at the moment, it just feels absolutely ludicrous.
Hmm. Does it sort of feel, and I've seen a few things of this on social media, but does it not sort of feel that like we're almost like the guinea pigs for these kind of new set of rules? Um, we've
Yeah, I
seen,
mean, you can't
we've seen the same things happen again, like kicking the ball away. Rice getting sent off for that. Um, yeah, I don't know. It just
I mean, look, if that is that this is new directive, and we've the ones that have fallen foul of it, then yeah, and one of the things that Man City players at the post match in all the reaction. There was a lot of narrative about Arsenal using the so-called dark arts and delaying the restart and
mm,
slowing the game down. And Sky, quickly tried to quote an Opta stat, and yet that appears to be the game in the second half with the ball in play more than any other game in the league so far this season.
yeah.
So where,
I saw
so
that as
where
well.
was this
Yeah.
slowing the game down? And that was when we unashamedly parked the bus. We got the plane, the bus, the coach, everything, whatever you want to call it. Park them all. It's just I don't
Oh
know.
God.
I don't know. It's just
Yeah. I don't know if you've seen
I,
the heat. Have you seen the heat map for the second half of the second half of the game? It's
I
amazing.
imagine it's probably our penalty box.
Ben White's is amazing. He's basically in our 6 yard box because
I,
he came on
I,
at half time, so that's like the truest heat map you can see
Oh
in
yeah,
the
my
I mean,
second
God.
half.
I think we need to
Uh,
get a banner made because Yuri and Timber and Kai Havertz were the first players that have played 90 minutes and not completed a successful pass.
I mean, that
mm,
is unbelievable. That's an unbelievable stat, to be honest.
Well, I think they should be proud of it because I think they both were superb.
Mm.
To be
Mm.
wow.
honest, I
Yeah.
think they were superb, and that's the thing where it's the mixed emotions. Keith, you said about defending like lions. For us not to crumble, and not to get suckered in, and to keep that resilience. I mean, that's the discipline involved in playing that way without the ball for so long, and to keep Man City. They didn't really have many super clear cut chances. Erling Haaland had a
Mm,
header that I thought Raya did quite well to save. It's just that little switch off where they've done a short corner, and unfortunately, it's the deflection of Kiwior and it's landed right at John Stone's feet. But
Yeah.
mm,
Any other
And
day that would have gone our way, but just,
Mm.
yeah.
yeah.
Partey got a bit like caught, didn't he? Because he didn't know
Yeah.
whether to come or to block the pass, and whichever
Mm.
way he went was going to be the wrong choice if the ball ended up at a
Which
City
which is
player.
quite funny actually, because I think Partey probably actually had one of his better
Yeah.
games this season. Um,
It was
Yeah.
just, I think
He didn't have to move very much, did he? That's probably
No.
why.
Well, yeah.
the whole
Yeah,
team,
Just
the whole
just
team,
stay
just
there. Like,
the
yeah,
whole
yeah.
team had just got set for a proper deep corner, and you could see that they all gone back and they just switched off for a second. And Grealish, for the first time in his life, used his brain, so and did the short corner. That was the difference, really. If being a normal corner, we would have headed it away. I'm not. We would have
Yeah.
got it away. Ref would have been forced to blow the whistle, and we would have won. So
And let's have
tiny
it right. I
tiny
think
differences.
apart from playing Real Madrid away, Man City away is probably the hardest fixture in world football, isn't it?
100%.
Mm.
100%.
You know,
Yeah, no
and I
doubt.
think
Yeah.
to be 1-0 down and then to compete, obviously, I feel to wrongly have a man sent off, but either way, it's happened.
Mm.
To hold Man City, and be so close to actually coming away with 3 points, which I don't think if we had managed to hold on, I don't think people would have been begrudging us because it was a superb rearguard performance in that second half.
Yeah.
And so the feelings of pride really do shine through. But my biggest takeaway from being in the ground from that actually and being at the game in years previous where we've played Man City, it's felt a bit like we need a massive slice of luck to beat them. And now, of course, obviously, you go and play another big team or great team like that, you're always going to need a slice of luck to win. But it felt like we went there more out of hope than expectation. And I feel like this was the first game where there was a bit more expectation on us, particularly after the stick we got last season for going for playing for a draw, supposedly.
Yeah, I hear that.
Which was
I hear that.
ridiculous.
Mm.
And then this season, well, I felt what was imperative, we had to, in boxing terms, lay a glove on Man City and really push them back. And I think we more than did that. And you know what? I'm really glad there was a bit of nastiness and spite in that game and that we did rough them up a little bit. We competed and we showed that we're not there to be pushed over. We're in this title race and we're not going anywhere. It was a throwback to the old Manchester United Arsenal games, and I'm all here for it.
Yeah, I can't agree more. The Liverpool City was not a proper rivalry. Liverpool won it once when City had an off year. The rest of the time, City were very happy to play Liverpool because Liverpool would come out and attack, go forward, and leave lots of space at the back, and City would win most of the time. In the 8 years Klopp was manager, he never won at the Etihad. Never won there. So it's not a proper that
Is that
Liverpool.
true?
Yeah. Liverpool were
Wow,
more
I
than
didn't know
happy.
that.
City, you saw it with Bernardo Silva at the end, and we said, "Oh, Liverpool, they play it the proper way." No, that meant that Liverpool play the way City like, which is give them lots of chances to score, and most of the time, City win. And this time we said, "No, we're not going to do that. We're going to play our way. We're going to try and win this. But if we don't win it, we don't want to lose." And I think we should be very proud of ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, I said before the game that I would take a draw, and I think a lot of Arsenal fans said a similar kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I don't think any of us expected it to be the draw that it was. Yeah. I mean, I was a few moments freaking out watching that game, definitely.
Trossard stays on. I believe we win that second half. We win the game.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think City would have really come at us, and I think there's always
Yeah, but we would have had
there's a danger
Saka.
leave yourself open. I don't know. What the sending off did really was it focused minds. It was right. Let's take Saka off, bring Ben White on. It was a very clear game plan. This
Who
is
was
what we're
injured,
do.
by the way. So
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
Ben was magnificent. If City scored a goal on the 40, I say 46th minute, but first minute of the second half, the game plans out the window and we look silly, and then it's that's it. I think it was a game of it was playing for minutes, wasn't it? It was 10-minute blocks. We were looking at it, and you could see that was I think a lot of the fans in the ground felt it was counting it down, and certainly once it got past 75 minutes, I mean, we were cheering every sort of misplaced City pass, every shot over the bar, anything you can possibly cling on to. It was like an old school FA Cup tie, I suppose, in that respect, of an underdog. But yeah, it's no, I think there's a lot of positives for Arsenal to take out of it, and I think the media backlash. We've got this in our history. Arsenal fans of a generation that we all are. Most of us are lucky enough to remember the George Graham days when no one liked us.
And we don't
Arsene Wenger,
care.
it was a different style of football, but we certainly boiled our fair share of piss when he was our manager. And I'm glad to see Mikel is carrying that tradition on.
I think it's an enormous compliment the way that, City are complaining about Arsenal's shithousery and time wasting and dark arts, because it feels like an extremely long time it's been Arsenal complaining about that when they've come up against, more mature, more canny opponents who are able to frustrate them, not let them play the game they want, and we've been on the wrong end of it. The fact now is that City obviously consider Arsenal a real rival. And like James said, I think they're probably the best team in the world right now. So if they're coming out after the game being all bitchy about Arsenal's attitude and the way they like ruined the game in the second half, that's that's something to be extremely proud of. It means that our team is doing what it should be doing. It means that they are exactly the caliber of team that could win this league if an asteroid crashes into the Etihad while they're having a game, or the Premier League actually finds them guilty of the many crimes they've been accused of. But yeah,
National League.
I can't agree more, Tom. I think, like you said, we went there and we showed that we were a force to be reckoned with, and we weren't bullied by City. A lot of teams like Tottenham, Man United, they're more than happy to lose to City if it means we don't win the league. But we we aren't liked by the rest of the league now. The rest of the league doesn't like us. We're
Good.
Every other
Good.
fan.
Good. Do you know why? Do you know why that's good? Because it means we're serious.
Yeah.
Everyone, when Arsene Wenger started to go on the wane, and I'll be honest, it was when Jose Mourinho came in and coaching became a lot more professionalized, and particularly analysis of opposition and all that sort of stuff, and marginal gains. And Arsene Wenger, the purist free jazz spirit guy that he is, he neglected a lot of this stuff. It was beneath him, and we got caught out time and time and time again. It was absolute naivety in the extreme. And notice how Arsene Wenger's relationship with Alex Ferguson changed in those latter years. We weren't a threat anymore. We weren't a threat anymore. It all became pally-pally. The nastiness was gone. It all became pally-pally. When we're at our best is when we're boiling people's piss. As I said again, getting under people's skin. That's when you're there at the top table and you're there to be reckoned with seriously. The biggest compliment I can give to Mikel Arteta, and he's built this team. This squad has been built from back to front. It's very defense heavy, and people have questioned that. I've questioned that. The style of football, but there is no stone left unturned. Every set piece, every throw in, every corner, everything is meticulously gone through. They are well prepared, well drilled, everything. You think our set pieces going forward, the goals that we've scored from set pieces, it's no fluke. It's every single margin. You think we've spoken about the goalkeeper more than enough times. I'm not going to go over it again, but you think the centre backs, we've got 4 left backs at the club. It's because we're trying to find the answer all the time with that stability in the team. And it's defence first. It's not, we're not trying to nick games 1-0 all the time. Obviously, you've got to go and win the league, but it's not about being caught out and being naive away from home. And I think Mikel, I said it on the previous podcast, you think the end of that, not last season, but the season before, we go to the Etihad, depleted him at the end of April, and we lose 4-1. Mikel took that personally. I'm absolutely 100% sure about that. And he thought, I'm not going to have this again. We are not going to be the team that gets embarrassed on the road. There was a great piece in the Amazon documentary where he spoke about Arsenal losing 5-1 at Anfield when we just got absolutely blitzed in the first 25 minutes. Gave the example about like a rabbit caught in the headlights. And he was very much, that is not going to happen. Graham, you've quoted it more times than I care to remember. When I lose a draw, I am upset. I'm upset. He wants us to fight and put grit. And I tell you what, that is every match going Arsenal fan, every Arsenal fan around the world that's followed this team for any amount of time. We're sick and tired of us going away from home to mid-table teams and getting bullied and losing on those fine margins. It was great, we play this brilliant tiki-taka football, all this sort of stuff. We come away losing 2-1. No one wanted that. It got boring. We were ready for this.
Well, thanks to thanks to James. I'm going to the Bolton game tomorrow night at the Emirates. You guys are all looking forward to the EFL Cup, the magic of the cup.
Who have we got playing? We might have a 16-year-old in goal.
Oh,
Nato's in. Raya's apparently injured.
All the changes.
All the
Neto was
changes.
suspended. So we could have a 16-year-old in goal apparently.
Is that actually true?
Yeah. Because the
Neto-
18-year-old being sent off
Neto's-
Ajax is injured.
Well,
Neto's
Neto's
cup-tied.
cup tied. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Well,
So
why can't David Raya play?
yeah, why can't Raya play?
Apparently he's
He
injured.
was
Raya's
pictured
not
coming out of
injured.
he was pictured coming out of the Etihad with a large bandage on his knee.
Oh,
Limping.
Christ.
Well, look, I mean,
I'm not worried about I'm not worried about Bolton particularly. They're 19th in League One. They just beat Reading 5-2, and that was their first win in about 5 or 6 games.
Yeah.
I got no idea how they play because I haven't watched Bolton since they were in the Premier League, and I can't even tell you how long ago that was. But I still think Arsenal should have too much, even with the 11 or 12 players who are unavailable.
Hmm.
You know, I'd assume we'll probably see Rice, Jorginho, maybe Saka, Jesus and Sterling. Like, those guys need some goals. This is a good chance to get some.
Yeah, true that.
yeah, Sterling,
Yeah.
I think for sure.
Hmm.
I'd expect him to start. Martinelli could do with the goal. I mean, I don't know. A lot of them put a lot of work in that 56 minutes on Sunday that Mikel quoted for the second half. Big game as well at home against Leicester on Saturday. I mean, look, we're our rear guard football that we've used in the last 3 games against Atalanta, Man City, and Tottenham is not going to suffice on Saturday. So, and you know, but we've got to go forward with our probably our key attacking player, Martin Odegaard. So that's in itself, and it's not like we've got a plug and play option with Fabio Vieira or Emil Smith Rowe. So we're gonna have to find a different way of playing on Saturday. I'm not sure if Trossard is suspended for that. I think
Yes, this is his 1 game suspension. It's the League Cup game.
is the League Cup game, so that's something at least. But yeah, I mean I mean, look, let's be honest. I would like us to win the League Cup. I'd like us to win any trophy, but the Leicester game is the one that takes precedence for sure.
Oh,
The
100%.
thing I'm reading says that Ben White, Gabriel Martinelli, Jurien Timber, and Ricardo Calafiori are all doubts for this game, as well as Raya. So like, we're going to be seeing some unfamiliar names. I'm seeing Nichols and Lewis Skelly listed as potential defenders for this game. I don't know who Nichols is.
He's a right back apparently.
Yeah.
That's good. We need one of those.
We've got a Heaven in there somewhere, haven't we?
There's an Iron
Should be
Heaven.
somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Heaven's in
And
there.
Yeah.
where he
And Wary, yeah.
and where he can probably play.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's gonna be some guys who are kind of like taped up after the City game, having to maybe start this, certainly be on the bench. So hopefully, whoever Mikel puts out can do enough to have this one wrapped up and not need to bring on.
Well, Sterling will
Cameron.
get a start.
Yeah,
Yeah, give your get a game.
Give you, I would
Heaven,
expect to, yeah.
Heaven, you played in the summer tour as a centre back. He'll get a game probably.
maybe Gabriel. I'd imagine Saliba might get a day off.
One of those two will start, and one of those two will be dropped.
Yeah.
Not dropped, but be rested.
Yeah.
Rotated. It's a shame that I think Mikel would have liked to have taken Jurien Timber out a little bit out of the team. But obviously, with Ben White picking up and being injured, Tomiyasu seemingly permanently injured, Zinchenko injured as well. I think Jurien Timber's probably. It wouldn't be surprised if he has to play, because that's the thing. As much as you know, we can flippantly say play all the under-23s or the under-18s or the under-17s, whatever. It's not really fair to throw loads of kids out to, in other.
Well, is it not the Arsene Wenger approach to the Coca-Cola Littlewoods Milk, whatever the hell it's called, cup, Carabao Cup?
He gave a lot of players their debuts in the competition, certainly, and you know, it turned out well for a lot of them, and a lot of them we probably have already, we never saw again.
Yeah, we think
For every Fabregas, there was plenty of others who were not.
Do you remember we had a little run? It probably felt for about 2 or 3 years where it felt like in the early rounds, Carlos Vela always scored a chip.
Yes,
he loved a chip. He
always scored a chip in the early round. It felt like it was the Carlos Vela Cup for a while.
Yeah, I used to love those games.
Jack Wilshere as well. I mean, there was such enthusiasm around that early Emirates here, wasn't there? Seeing the young kids come through. I think, like you said, Fabregas got his start in there, and I remember loads of players. Couldn't see Abayi. Well, I remember him coming through. Deb Larson, so many. So Fabregas, Jack Wilshere, obviously famously. Yeah, so there was a lot. So let's see. Hopefully, it gives someone an opportunity, isn't it? I think the academies been strong. Obviously, we've spoken a lot about the Highlanders, and it's something nice to see if someone else can get a bit of a breakthrough moment.
I'm just glad we got a draw where we can even talk about this rather than it being, like a top six of the Premier League opponent. Like it feels like we've had multiple times in recent years early on in these cups, and it's meant. I think it's one of the reasons that Mikel copped a load of flack last year for always playing the same team. Like he never got a chance to blood in any of the younger guys in the lesser cups, if you like.
Yeah, yeah, that's a really good point actually. So the last 2 seasons, who we played in the EFL Cup?
That's a great question.
It's like Liverpool last season, Brighton. Like
Well, I think last year we beat Brentford away and then went out to West Ham.
That's right,
Yeah.
one of those.
yeah.
So yeah, so
FA
playing
Cup, we beat Oxford and then lost to Man City.
Am I right in saying so? It's obviously Bolton tomorrow. Is it Leicester then PSG?
Yeah, PSG's a week today.
Oh,
Oh my
jeez.
Christ!
Yeah, the
At least
games.
it's at home.
The
It's
games
at home,
really do
yeah,
start.
exactly.
The games
Yeah.
really do start coming thick and fast. Look, so okay, we've spoken a bit about injuries that we have. Obviously, there was quite a significant injury in the game on Sunday. Do we have any? Do we have any thoughts or?
He's Mike Rodri, which I thought was quite funny. I mean, it's worth mentioning him anyway because I mean, he went. How many seconds was it into the game when he
3
3?
when he
Yeah.
cheated?
When he
trying to get Kai Havertz sent off.
when he fell on his face. It was like,
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
it was a completely innocuous move. I mean, obviously, he's been quite vocal in the press about players playing too many matches.
Mm,
And obviously, he goes and gets an ACL. I mean, we've got a few players that are. Would you say on the in the Arsenal words on the brink of the red zone? I think one player that we always worry about, Bukayo Saka. I mean, he's someone that probably does play the volume of games that would be not far off what Rodri does. You know, I think there are too many games.
Yeah,
there are too many games. I'm not going to argue with Roger about there being
Well, not enough break, is there?
But I think, I mean, we've spoken about this before. Like, I think the international breaks, not international breaks rather, but like the Nations League needs to be scaled down. I don't think it gives players enough time off.
Do you trust the clubs not to, like, if there was just a week off given, do you trust any of the big clubs not to use that time to just go and like play in Dubai or something, or like fly over to the States for a quick money spinner though?
I completely agree with you there, Tom.
Yeah.
It's the same thing that we spoke about when everyone thought we ridiculed him for saying about having a World Cup every 2 years.
Yeah.
And his idea was you've got to stop all these international friendly tournaments and money spinning tours and all this sort of stuff. And
Yeah.
I mean it just sort of fly in the face. He's a FIFA man now, and obviously FIFA are going to put on the Club World Cup that I don't think anyone wants in the forthcoming summer. Thankfully we're not a part of that. But yeah, I mean the expanded format of the Champions League. Did anyone really want that? I mean, look, I suppose on one hand it's good because it's something different and we all like change, or positive change where we get to see different teams and certainly it was quite fun. I thought playing Atalanta last week, and then
I mean, we've spoken about this before. I quite like
Champions
the
League
new
group games
format
have been
for
quite
it,
dead.
but yeah.
Yeah, but then do we really need the EFL Cup? Really? I mean, should that be a tournament that's for teams or Premier League teams that are not in Europe, and then the rest of the EFL? I know that
Yeah, I actually think I think that's a fair
teams
point.
in Europe need, should they be exempt maybe?
Yeah, I think that's a fair point actually.
But then you take away the opportunity from teams in lower leagues to have games against like the biggest, like if they got a home game against like Man City or something, that's potentially their biggest gate for decades.
Yeah.
The de-glamorizing the tournament by taking out the best teams, like it's just going to compromise it fatally, I think, even if you're only excluding the top 6 teams in the Premier League.
I suppose you could always argue there is the FA Cup, and it does a lot of teams, but a lot. Well, the only thing as well, I suppose you could say, is that a lot of teams lower down the pyramid, unless they do get top 6 side, heavily rotate anyway because they're all in a scramble to either stay up or try and get in the playoffs, aren't they? So it's even. I mean, how much do they really want it? I don't know. I don't know enough about finances of EFL teams to know how crucial it is to them. But
well, as somebody who watches like as
that
somebody who
probably
watches
could
a
go.
lot of VFL, like I can tell that their finances are not good. Like no one goes to their games, like especially in like
So
League
then
One,
do
League
they? So
Two.
then should.
Like it's
But then that's the point, though, isn't it, Graham? Should they then stick another fixture in there to kind of fleece fans for? Is that really?
well, no, I don't think they should at all. I just
So
it's
you'd be in favour of getting rid of it altogether?
what the entire competition.
Yeah, get rid of the EFL Cup. Yeah.
No, because it's the EFL. The EFL is like the oldest organization in the world in that regard. So, they're the ones who set up the original
But do you
football
know why the
division.
League Cup?
So
Yeah,
I'm
but do you know
just
why the League Cup started? Don't you?
I don't know.
yeah, I don't
Well,
know that.
it was the idea was basically is that teams further down the leagues were required to put floodlights in, and then to justify the cost of putting the floodlights in, or to kind of supplement the cost of that, it was a midweek cup competition, and that's why the League Cup takes place through midweek. It was to increase revenue from that.
Interesting.
Interesting.
That's how it
Yeah, I like
started.
that.
But
I
obviously
like how me and Tom just both
but
went
then
interesting.
obviously at that time though, you've got to remember the European Cup was for the team that finished first. The
Mm.
UEFA Cup was for the team that finished second, and the Cup Winners' Cup was for the team that won the FA Cup, and that
Yeah,
was
yeah,
it.
yeah. Yeah.
So sort of made sense to have something else to play for. But now
Mm.
I think with the saturation of everything, I'm not sure there's really a place for it. But
Mm.
And I've just looked up the last 10 winners of the League Cup. 5 of them are Man City, 2 Liverpool, 2 Man United, and Chelsea. So for all the good I was
Yeah.
saying it might do for the
yeah,
lower down teams, like it's still the big teams. It's still the big teams that always win it.
Yeah.
Well, Man City cheat, don't they, by playing their best team all the time?
Well, they've got about 3 best teams.
Yeah, I know.
Exactly,
It's
exactly.
ridiculous.
Well, you say that, but then that's why I have no little to no sympathy for them. But Rodri, you never want to see a player get injured, but they never ever rested Rodri last
But
season.
but you do really, don't
No,
Well, I suppose you could. Are you team Calvin Phillips, Keith? Do you think they could have easily rotated him if they wanted to?
for some of the
Said they
cup
ruined
games.
Calvin Phillips, didn't they? He was a
Well,
starting
exactly.
player for
Yeah.
England.
But they
Mm.
never rested Rodri at all last season. All this talk about, oh, Pep would say, oh, the players are playing too much. He never ever rested Rodri at all.
I can remember one game where they rested him,
When?
a Champions League final against Chelsea,
Oh, yeah.
where they didn't pick him or Fernandinho,
Well, that's when
leaving a
Pep
gaping hole for Kai
big
Havertz to run
brain.
through into.
Mm. Oh,
Look, I
dear.
just, I just say no one wants to see an injury, but to a big player. But surely though, that does present Arsenal with. It feels like that's a big opportunity, isn't it? If
It
you think back,
does. And also if you
you think
consider
back
that
to sorry, Graham, I was going to say if you
no
think back
good.
to 97, 98 when we won the double, that was when Roy Keane, who was I think Manchester United's probably their most influential player. He did his ACL against Leeds. I think when Blackburn won the league in '95, that was when Roy Keane, Eric Cantona was suspended for his kung fu kick. It's English football is littered with that. Someone's misfortune is someone else's good fortune.
Mm.
Um, you think we were on course to potentially win the league in 2008? We had a horrific injury to Eduardo. These things do come up. It presents an opportunity for someone else. Does that present an opportunity for us to take advantage?
And to put a little positive spin on it, we just came out of that Man City game without Martin Odegaard. And he wasn't in the Tottenham game, he wasn't in the Atlanta game. So really, you know, I would have thought that
Yeah.
we'd be less well equipped to deal with an absence that huge than a team like City would. We've still come out with very credible results from those 3 very, very difficult away games without him. Like, I feel good about that. Much as I'd much rather we'd had Odegaard for those games, we managed, and it's not like anybody's even really stepped in to replace him. Like Arteta's had to build the team differently, and he's been able to, and the players have been able to understand those instructions and execute them. Like that shows that we're in a very good place, and it makes me feel better about the idea that eventually Saka will be out for a week or 2 or longer. Like it's bound to happen. The amount of a kicking that guy takes and how many minutes he plays. But I don't feel as anxious about it as I would in previous seasons. I feel like the way the squad's assembled now, we're in a pretty good spot to cope with all kinds of chaos being thrown at us.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Odegaard one is that's going to come into focus in the next couple of weeks, where the onus is going to be on us to really try and win games, particularly in the league, and obviously starting with Leicester on Saturday. They're not going to come and play an open game. They're going to try and do to us what we did to City. So, yeah, I mean that's going to be a huge test. But yeah, I think we've got to take. Look, we have to take the positives out of this. 3 tough away games. You know, let's have it right. The North London derby. I don't think there's ever been one that's, as much as we'd like to crow, but let's be honest, none of them are ever easy. Atalanta Europa League winners, and you know they were the first team to beat Leverkusen on their amazing run. So to go there and get a really credible draw, and I think, look, let us say, if nothing else, what a save by David Raya, by the way.
my God, come on.
I mean, what a
Amazing.
save.
I mean, he's been our boy for like the last 3 games, basically. I mean,
well,
not,
yeah, the player of the season, the player of the season for us so far. I mean, he's really come into his own, hasn't he? But other than that, I mean, obviously, again, a soft penalty, you could say. I think it probably was a penalty, but a soft penalty to give away. But we come away from that. Other than that, you know, we shut up shop. Really solid performance. Obviously, the credible draw against City. I think we're in a really good shape now to move forward. So let's all be positive.
We just need to get through the next 4 to 6 weeks and then hopefully get Odegaard back after the next international break.
Start accumulating some points and scoring some goals.
Yes, basically. Simple as that is.
In a way, I think of it as sort of getting games out of the way, and I think we discussed this on previous podcasts.
Sure.
Like we've
3 big, massive away games, yeah.
You know,
done and dusted.
Yeah. So now we can move on. Leicester on Saturday.
Up the Arsenal.
Here's Martinelli to drive at Walker and set it back for Calafiori. Oh, it's a beauty! What a strike! What a moment for Ricardo Calafiori to introduce himself to England's big league. Saka takes Gabriel.